to show how to remove power lines in Photoshop. First, I always duplicate the background. You use the Control J option. You can duplicate by right-clicking on the background. Go to Duplicate Layer. By clicking on Layer 1, you usually go over to Spot Healing Brush tool right here. And it usually defaults to the right values. And in here you want to click Sample All Layers. The size of it matters how big your power line is. You always want to get it a little bit harder, bigger than the actual power line size. Move your size up by either using this tool over here, or you can use the left and right brackets to make it bigger or smaller. And don't forget to move out of this area here, or it will put in left brackets and right brackets. So, getting out of here, should be able to left bracket, right bracket to make it bigger, left bracket to make it small. What I usually do is, quick method is to click sample here, hit the shift key, come up to your next line at the end. It does all the work for you. You can clean up later by just clicking once. Should clean it up really nicely. Might be some artifacts in here that you can clean up with the clone tool. I always just click and then hold the shift key and click again. You can come in here and spot clean by just clicking and dragging. See that? So you can use that same method throughout here. Click, and you can either click and drag or just click and then click the shift key. I usually do this quicker, just like this. I go in and clean up later with clone. See that? And sometimes it doesn't work so well, so you have to use the clone tool. Whoops, see? Use Control Z to back out of there. Get this one over here. Works pretty well. A lot of times this stuff is real simple. Notice how it cleaned it up just real nicely right there. Let's try this in here. Just try click and drag and see what it does. Look at that. Look at that. Just click and click. Let's see if it does it right here. Yeah. Pretty good. So I'll come back over here to the clone stamp tool and use the left and right brackets to make it smaller. And I usually like to zoom in, use the Control plus key and zoom into about 100%. And then use the space bar to bring up the move tool and click and drag to move it to the right spot. Whoa. Notice there's a little bit of stuff here. So what you do with the clone stamp tool, hit the Alt key, Alt or Option on the Mac, and click in a space of the picture that looks like the spot you want to heal. Click and then carefully paint over it. Notice how that works pretty well. Do this over here using the command or the left bracket. Click the Alt key, click your sample, and come over to the top of it. Always make sure you have this button right here aligned, because you can make your flow be whatever you want. I usually make it lower than 100% so you can paint it on there to your liking. And always make sure your sample is set to current and below if you have two layers going here. I'm going to use the space bar, click, drag over to the next part, and do the rest of the work. Click in a sample area, paint carefully, click and hold it down and move your mouse or trackpad. Pretty good. Click over here in this area. Carefully, don't get the rocks in there. 42%. Pretty clear. Right over here. Oops, forgot to do my click. Click. Okay. You can also sample a rock if you want. Paint over this part right here. Be careful, you don't want it to look duplicated like this does, so try to make it look a little normal by clicking over from somewhere else and taking a sample. Click in this area right here. Click paint on, and watch out, see how this rock showed up. Control Z to undo. I'm going to go on this side. Click, and then watch this little crosshair above there, and that's where it's taking the sample from, right? So you don't want to get too far over there. Click and drag again. Okay. By no means professional right here. Just learn how to do this over the years. Okay. Click, drag, and see if we have any other places. I'm going to Control 0 to make it zoom back out, and then you can do a Control plus, zoom into other places. That sound good? When you're done, you can save it as a JPEG or whatever you'd like. Be sure to flatten the image if you don't want to come back to it by selecting all your layers. Come down to flatten image and then do your save. Now, if you want to come back and do more changes on this, just save it as a PSD, a Photoshop file. For my next video, I'll be taking out this wallet down here.